Thanks very much, Edgar. Last week I was inside northern Syria visiting GOL's humanitarian programs across the Idlib and Hama provinces. GOL's been working inside Syria since November 2012 and is currently delivering humanitarian assistance in excess of 350,000 individuals every month. My latest trip to Syria was as a follow-up from earlier visits back in July, and it was clearly evident to me that the humanitarian situation has deteriorated considerably since that time. It is, in my opinion, that without an immediate sustainable solution to the conflict and the humanitarian crisis will become unmanageable for the larger international NGOs operating on the ground inside Syria today. I addressed the Oireachtas today urging Irish parliamentarians and other elected representatives to keep the humanitarian crisis inside Syria high up on the political agenda. Political will and political pressure, not only in Ireland but across Europe and the rest of the world, is essential if we want to protect the human rights of the most vulnerable people who have been affected by this conflict. I think we've all heard that the UN are estimating that 100,000 have been killed to date. 6.8 million people are in need of aid. 4.25 to 4.5 million people are internally displaced inside Syria. 2.1 million people are seeking refuge in neighbouring countries. I think what's most shocking of all about those statistics is that half of the 6.8 million people needing aid are children. So we can talk all day about figures, but it's only when you visit Syria and that you see the devastation and the suffering at first hand that you realise the enormity of the humanitarian catastrophe that's taking place here. It's one of the worst humanitarian crises that I've witnessed, and I've been to many. I welcome US Secretary of State John Kerry's statement that the United States and Russia are pushing the United Nations to hold a Syria peace conference for the second week of November. However, it's important to emphasise the timeliness of this. There is a need for a clear, sustainable solution right now. Not only will innocent people continue to suffer with this impasse, the realisation of any peaceful solution in the future is going to become more difficult as extremist groups look to profit from the inertia of the international community and the chaos inside Syria that is unravelling as a result of that vacuum. Thanks to the support of Irish Aid and other international donors like the British government, the American government, the European Union, GOL is providing food rations to 350,000 people on a monthly basis. The food rations include basic nutritional components such as rice, beans, pasta and oil. In addition, GOL is providing bread to over 100,000 people per month and supporting the re-establishment of the bakeries through large-scale flour distributions. To ensure that 84,000 displaced people are prepared for the harsh winter ahead, funded by the Irish government, GOL is distributing vouchers that can be redeemed from a supplier for a range of items including heating, fuel, housing repair materials, blankets, clothing and cooking utensils, the type of materials that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis. The US Government Inspector General recently reviewed GOL's voucher programme and maintained it was one of the most innovative they had seen and should be replicated as much as possible. While ensuring the humanitarian needs are met in GOL's current areas of operation, we will continue to expand our geographical focus to reach those populations most at risk. And I'd like to agree with my colleague from MSF that aid just finding itself being delivered in a 12-kilometre band just south of the Turkey border is not going to meet the needs of the most vulnerable and the people most in need. When security permits, this means that we're going to have to work through local partners to access the less secure areas not currently receiving aid, including southern Idlib and Hama town, where the fighting is at its heaviest. There's a need for the humanitarian community and the international agencies to also expand their humanitarian activities to include provision of safe water, supporting the rural agricultural sector, providing home repair and transitional shelter for families, and responding to the primary healthcare needs of the most vulnerable people inside Syria. So in closing, I just want to finish with the challenges facing GOL's operation in Syria over the coming months can only be mitigated significantly by the creation of a protected humanitarian corridor that allows the humanitarian agencies access into the most in-need areas. In essence, we're talking about a humanitarian corridor that protects aid distributions from the interference of government and rebel forces. That is only going to come about through dialogue at a political level The issue on the ground is humanitarian. The humanitarian response is not going to solve the political situation here. But without that humanitarian corridor protected so that the aid agencies can get to those most in need, the situation is going to deteriorate further. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.